Okay, so you guys are really in for a treat if you enjoy construction noise because I live right outside. There's a construction site right outside, and they start at 6 or 7 a.m. and don't stop until 11 most days. So that's why I'm so tired in most of my videos, like my music videos. It's always after 11 p.m. and I'm just like I am so tired right now. But it's good. Usually I get to a point where I'm just like I don't care, and then I and then I just do it, and it's good. But yeah, I don't know. I don't care for the construction too much. I think it's great that they have such dedicated workers there, but I'm just kind of like, just because you're being productive members of society, why do I have to wake up before noon? But it is what it is. I'm going to talk today about the song that I posted this week. I also am a little bit sick, so you could probably hear that in my voice and see that I'm tired too, but at least if I'm talking to you, I am not getting anybody else sick, so I think this is a good use of my time. So, yeah, I'm going to talk about my song that I posted this week, Dumbest Things, and it's funny. One of my favorite musicians, Ben Folds. He's definitely one of the top 4 influential musicians in my life. There's Ben Folds, Chris Thile, Sarah Bareilles, and Brad Paisley. I think my music is probably influenced more than anybody else by those 4, plus musical theater in general. Maybe Andrew Lloyd Webber. So that's Ben Folds, and he was bigger in the 90s, and one of his biggest songs was a song called Brick, which is a beautiful song. I've actually covered it on this channel. I can link that in the description, and I'll also link to you the live performance he does of Brick, because it's very funny. He starts playing it, and then he stops, and then he's like, people ask me a lot what this song's about. I don't really like to make a big hairy deal about it because I just kind of want the song to speak for itself. But here's what the song's about. And then he says it in like 5 words and then starts playing the song, and that's it. And so, I don't know. I think someday if I am as successful and talented as Ben Folds, like if I write my Brick someday, then I think at that point maybe I'll stop making a big hairy deal about it. But in the meantime, I'm like, yeah, let's talk about this, Stay tuned for some TMI with Molly. Maybe I should just call this segment of the channel TMI Fridays. Or like, I could switch it to Tuesdays, because then it could be like TMI Tuesdays with Molly. You have the alliteration. I don't know, we'll work on it. So yeah, what I was gonna talk to you about is, so my song this week reminded me of stuff that I've been learning about as a person training to become a psychotherapist, because that's my main thing right now. So I am studying to become a registered psychotherapist, and it comes into every part of my life. I literally caught myself. I talk to myself a lot, so this is actually very natural. I talk to myself a lot, and earlier there was a spider in my room, and I was like, oh, I don't like killing spiders, but I literally said out loud, like, I like the fact that you're a spider rather than any other sort of insect, but at the end of the day, the fact that you're an insect is a deal breaker for me. And then I crushed it. I was like, I'm a little bit off my rocker, I think. But I'm very diplomatic. Like, I'm good at communicating. I was very respectful towards that spider before I killed it. So, anyway, good with communication. But yeah, so I'm studying to become a psychotherapist, and one of the modalities is emotion-focused therapy, EFT, and so I've been watching a lot of couples therapy session recordings, which is quite entertaining. But one of the most important concepts in EFT is helping the client get from secondary to primary emotions. So when a couple comes in, they're usually fighting on the level of secondary emotions. They come in and they're like, you never put the milk back in the fridge where it's supposed to go, and it always goes bad. And then the other person is like, well, no matter what I do, it's always wrong, so I'm just gonna stay over here and try not to set you off again. And then they're just like going back and forth like that. That's literally what the couple that I was watching their recorded therapy session, that's what they were fighting about. But the idea of EFT is that you want to go from secondary emotions, which feel more powerful for a person. They're not very vulnerable. It's like frustration, anger, resentment, that sort of thing. But what EFT wants to do is like take a couple from arguing on that level where you can't really come together in that level of navigating the situation. It's a lot better if you can come together in the realm of primary emotions. And the primary emotions are what the emotional bond between the couple has to be based on for a really secure connection. But those emotions are a lot more vulnerable because they're the sorts of emotions like longing for connection, fear of losing connection, and that kind of thing. That feels very vulnerable and scary for a lot of people, especially the people in the recorded session that I've been watching. They have both gone through a lot of trauma, and they both have gone through AA, so they have a history of alcoholism because that was their coping mechanism for their trauma. So anyways, those primary emotions feel really scary for these people, and so the job of the therapist is actually to help them navigate or translate basically the secondary emotions that they're communicating. Like, you never put the milk back where you're supposed to. Well, I never do anything right. Like, all that has to go down into the primary emotions. And the therapist kind of helps them translate that. Like, oh, like, you're the most important person in my life. And so when I feel like I'm not getting things right, it's terrifying to me that I can't make this work. Like, that sort of thing. That's where couples are actually going to make headway. It's hard to get a lot of couples to get there. Anyways, so that's EFT on sort of the couples level, and couples therapy EFT was mostly developed by Sue Johnson, which is it's cool. She's British, but she came to do most of her work on EFT in Canada, at UBC is where she did a lot of her initial research on this. So it's cool. She's kind of like she's kind of like a Canadian contribution to psychotherapy, which is huge. Like, EFT couples therapy is very widely used, and it has some evidence behind it, scientific evidence behind it, and that sort of thing. That it really does help couples who are even on the brink of divorce, you know. And there are actually a lot of really influential Canadians. EFT comes from, like, in psychology, like, EFT comes from attachment theory, which was like a John Bowlby thing, but the initial research that was done about attachment theory was done by Mary Ainsworth, who was a Canadian. So lots of cool stuff going on in Canada around psychotherapy, especially in the EFT tradition, attachment theory. Anyways, back to, so yeah, that was Sue Johnson. Now, EFT, Sue Johnson mostly focused on couples therapy, but there's another guy, I think his name is Les Greenberg, if I'm not mistaken, and he took EFT into the individual therapy sort of way of developing EFT. And so he also talks about primary and secondary emotions and how that's super important. And that brings me to the song that I posted this week, Dumbest Things. And so basically, the way that I think about this song, now that it's been written and everything, is that the core of the song is in the bridge. I heard one person say that that when you're looking at a song, if you want to know what the song's really about, that's what the bridge is for. The bridge tells you what it's really about. And I don't know if that's the case for every song, but for this one, I think it is, because the bridge is what is basically me in the music and in the lyrics, going from the sort of secondary emotions, those more defensive and protective emotions, like I miss the dumbest things about you, like that frustration and like this is so frustrating, you know. I go from that level to the bridge brings me to I miss the sweetest things about you. I'm just like that tender and more vulnerable place. That to me is actually what this song is basically about, is me sort of making that journey from being up there in primary emotions to settling into those, up there in those secondary emotions and settling into the primary emotions and just making that connection with myself. So yeah, just thought I would share that. What else was I going to say about this? Yeah, I think that's pretty much the opposite of one of my other songs, Just Fine. It's another like heartbreak sort of ballads thing, and it's one of my favorite songs that I've ever written. I just thought it was another one that's pretty authentic, and it's got a similar vibe where it's just like, well, I was doing just fine before you came into my life, so like all that. But at the heart of Just Fine, it's like there are those primary emotions going on that those secondary emotions, like I'm fine without you, you know. That sort of just fine is the secondary emotions, and the song never really fully goes in to the primary emotions. It just stays in those secondary ones. So that's kind of the opposite of this song, which is like it starts in the secondary, and it actually is like, yeah, I am willing to settle into those primary emotions. And I think that's why music therapy works, because when I was writing this song, I was not in any way setting out to write a song about me like connecting with feelings that feel too vulnerable for me. It just happened. Like, and that's one of the really cool things about art, is that you just sort of allow the inspiration to come through, and when you do that and when you don't force it too much, then I think it's naturally therapeutic, because your sort of subconscious processes will help pull you in the direction of the things that you need to deal with, that you don't consciously want to deal with very badly, or that you don't even consciously know you need to deal with. I think the way that art sort of taps into subconscious and unintentional aspects of your being that you might not even be aware of it, I think that's what makes art therapy so powerful. I think that's all that I have to say about that. So that's my big hairy deal about the dumbest things. And thank you very much for listening. Thank you so much for your positive comments on last week's video and this week's music video. It felt really scary for me to post a talking video, and so your feedback means a lot to me. And also the fact that you responded positively to Dumbest Things, it means a lot, and I really appreciate that this is a place where I can share. And I would love to hear in the comments about your thoughts on like art therapy, or about other works of art where you've noticed that sort of descent from secondary to primary emotions, or let me know if there's anything in particular you'd like me to talk about in future videos. I love talking about psychotherapy and the things that I'm learning about. And so yeah, let me know if that's something you want to hear about more as well.